Hello, I'm David Green, joined alongside DJ Bauer and Hunter Pitcoff to talk some March Madness. Gentlemen, with the conclusion of the second round, what are your thoughts on some of the Sweet 16 matchups, as well as the possible matchups in the Elite Eight? Let's start with you, Hunter.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the East region right now. We got Duke and Virginia Tech here, a rematch from earlier in the year. Both teams healthy, though, however. We got Duke with Zion Williamson, Virginia Tech with Justin Robinson at the helm. I think Duke is going to take this matchup here and advance to the Elite Eight. I think, Zion Williamson, he makes that much of a difference. He's playing his best basketball at the best time of the year. And then Virginia Tech, I think they do a good job shutting down Kerry Blackshear. He had a good game earlier on. And I'm really excited for this Michigan State-LSU game. It's the game within the game, the minds of Cassius Winston and Tremont Waters, two of the best point guards in the country. But at the end of the day, with a week of preparation, I'm going with the experience here of Tom Izzo and his coaching staff over LSU, who currently doesn't have theirs, and Will Wade, and I have the Spartans advancing. And a very good Elite Eight. I think history does repeat itself here. Duke normally has the upper hand over Michigan State, and thus the fact that Duke, I think, has also a more talented roster. Big-time players make big-time plays. I'm going with the Blue Devils to advance to the Final Four.
All right, so for my region here, this is a very interesting matchup with Duke and Virginia Tech. Like Hunter mentioned, it's a rematch. Virginia Tech got the better of Duke last time, but like Hunter mentioned, they didn't have Zion Williamson. Now that he's back and he's a huge factor, I got to go with the Blue Devils to take this matchup here. As for Michigan State and LSU, I'm also going to go with the experience. And Tremont Waters may be a very good player, but I think there's a chance that there's no better player in basketball than Cassius Winston when he's playing good basketball. So yes, I'm going to go with the Spartans here as well. Now for this Final Four matchup. This is pretty interesting because obviously the popular pick is going to be Duke. But if there's anything that we learned from the game against UCF, it's that they can be stopped if you play them the right way. Michigan State is a smart team. I think they are going to play Duke the right way and find a way to advance to the Final Four.
And then look at the West region here. I think we have our first upset, our first one seed going down. I'm going to go with the Seminoles here. I love their depth. Guys like Terrence Mann and Fiondu Kabengele, they're playing their best basketball right now. I think they cause trouble for Gonzaga's big men. I got Florida State advancing to Elite Eight. And Michigan, Texas Tech, two very good defensive teams, but the Red Raiders defense, it is just a whole nother animal to deal with. We've seen them cause trouble for opponents, especially a team that doesn't normally play in the Big 12. I have Texas Tech advancing, and then I think a similar strategy will be in place that Florida State had against Murray State. Texas Tech has a guy in Jared Culver who's one of the most underrated superstars in the country. I think they allow him to do well, but shut out everybody else on the defensive end. And I think the Seminoles make the Final Four for the first time since 1972.
Wow, long time.
Yeah.
All right, so taking a look at my predictions here, I'm not going to go with the upset. I have to take Gonzaga on this one. Even though Florida State has the depth, I just really like the starting five of this Gonzaga team. I feel like this is a team of destiny that could go all the way. I mean, you got guys like Brandon Clark, Josh Perkins, Norvell. If all of them are on, they're going to be hard to stop. So I'm going to go with Gonzaga on this one. As for this matchup down here, yes, I think this is going to be probably the best defensive matchup we see in the tournament, assuming that we don't see like a Virginia versus Michigan or Virginia versus Texas Tech in the final. I'm going to take Michigan here just because I think they have a better offense, and sometimes you just need to score a bucket. So Michigan wins that game. Now for this trip to the Final Four. This is going to be interesting because Michigan is going to be looking to get to its second straight Final Four. But like I mentioned, I like the starting five of Gonzaga. I also think they've got some depth of guys who haven't started as much, like Kispert and Crandall. So I am going to go with Gonzaga to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, and then looking at the South region here, we got Virginia, Oregon. It may be a 1-12 matchup, but I think it's going to be a close game. Oregon is playing maybe the best basketball amongst any team, regardless of seed. That being said, though, with a week to prepare and just the fact that Virginia had such a tragic loss last season against UMBC, I'm going to go with the Cavaliers here. I think defensively they'll be able to slow down Oregon, make it more of a half-court game, which favors their tempo and style of play. And Tennessee, Purdue. I worry about Purdue a little bit because they rely so much on Carson Edwards. And while he's a guy who normally delivers for them, I think Tennessee has the personnel to slow down the Boilermakers, and I have the Vols advancing to the Elite Eight here. And I think this is going to come down to grit and honestly flat out who wants it more, and I'm going to go with Tennessee. I was really impressed with the way they were able to battle adversity and defeat Iowa despite giving up that big lead. Guys like Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, they're two phenomenal players on both ends of the floor, and they're great leaders as well, and they're going to make their first ever Final Four appearance.
So for my Sweet 16 picks for the South region, This is a good game here. Like you mentioned, Oregon has been playing very good basketball lately. I believe they've won their last 10 in a row by 17.9 points per game, which is ridiculous. But they're playing Virginia. This is arguably the best defensive team in the country. I know Peyton Pritchard's a pretty good shooter, but I don't think that they're going to be able to compare with the slow tempo that Virginia plays. They make you play their game. And when they got guys like Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy to wear you out, I think Virginia advances. Now, Tennessee and Purdue, you seem to be pretty confident in the Vols. I'm not so confident. They played a close game against Colgate. They blew a 20-point lead against Iowa that they had to take to overtime in order to win. I like Purdue. The way they've been playing recently, I mean, take a look at how they dismantled Villanova. If Carson Edwards has another 42-point night, I think that easily Purdue could win this game. And so in a Virginia versus Purdue Elite Eight matchup here for a trip to the Final Four, I'm going to take defense. I think that Virginia is going to find a way to disrupt Carson Edwards in this Boilermaker offense and advance to the Final Four, completely removing any worries from last year's team.
Yeah, and finally look at the Midwest region here. I got to credit Auburn. They're playing spectacular basketball, to say the least. Had a great outing against Kansas. I love their offense. I love their fast-paced tempo. But UNC plays the same exact way, and they're flat out just a better team. I also think that defensively, North Carolina is more sound. I'm going with the Tar Heels here. And Kentucky-Houston, I think Houston's going to run into the same problem Wofford had. And the size of Kentucky, even without P.J. Washington, is still big nevertheless. I also like how the Wildcats have rallied behind Washington and other guys have stepped up. I think history will repeat itself again, and Kentucky advances to the Elite Eight. And then this is going to be a tough one too, but North Carolina, Roy Williams, they're really good at exposing your weaknesses. And the biggest weakness for Kentucky right now is the fact that P.J. Washington is not playing. I think they dominate them on the glass on both ends, both offensive and defensive reboundings. And I got North Carolina reaching the Final Four yet again.
Okay, so for my predictions for the Midwest region here, like we mentioned, Auburn has been playing very good basketball. I mean, they just destroyed Kansas last weekend. But North Carolina has also been playing some of the best basketball of the year. I mean, they were very good down the stretch. They beat Duke twice. They played a very close game when Zion had returned, so I'm going to take North Carolina in this game here. As for Kentucky-Houston, I think this is going to be a very close matchup. I'm just not confident in Kentucky because P.J. Washington's not on the court, and he's their best player. So, if he's not there, I don't think that they're going to have, the same firepower that they usually do. I mean, take a look at that game against Wofford. If Fletcher McGee makes some of those threes that he misses, there's a very good chance that Wofford's in the Sweet 16 instead of Kentucky. Houston is hungry. I'm going to go with the Cougars to advance to the Elite Eight. Now, this matchup here, North Carolina versus Houston, if it happens, I think it's going to be one of the best in the tournament. But I'm going to take North Carolina just because they have the likes of Luke May and Kobe White, and they got one of the greatest coaches of all time in Roy Williams. So, Tar Heels to the Final Four.
All right. All right, that wraps up our segment on March Madness for this week. For DJ Bauer and Hunter Pitcoff, I'm David Green. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.